Hi, Molly, are you there? I made you a panelist.
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Good. I'm trying a different format. This is a webinar instead of a traditional meeting. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh, okay, but she's only gonna present, I thought, for like a half an hour, and then the rest will be the family meeting. Will that allow people to,
Mhm.
like, for us to see each other?
Yeah, I can control everything from here. It's just it gives me a little bit more control. So
Okay. All righty.
because people can Zoom bomb you, and that's a thing these days.
Zoom bomb?
Zoom bomb.
What does that mean?
People can kind of take over your meeting and share stuff or just interrupt your meeting. It's a thing.
Oh, okay, I read about that during the COVID
Yeah.
craziness. Yeah.
It's a time and age we live in. I see Dr. Faraji is here. Hi, Dr. Faraji. Nice to meet you.
Good evening. I'm actually only providing moral support for Michelle, so she's going to be doing the presentation.
Well, we're excited that you guys are here.
Thank you, guys.
I don't think I see Michelle. Oh, there she is. Yeah. So there's Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Is there a way to turn my video on, or are we just leaving it off for now?
I think you can do it on from your end. Maybe not. Let me. I changed this to a webinar format instead of a meeting format. So
Yeah, I think it's just set up slightly different. Let's see.
Yeah, I can't turn my video on either. It just has the microphone. And I'm not seeing anyone. Just a black screen that has my name on it.
Are you telling me I brushed my teeth for nothing?
Exactly.
Oh, wait, you can't smell my breath either. Huh.
Yeah, it would feel, I don't know, encouraging if we could all see each other.
all right. I thought you would be able to turn your cameras on. Let me see if there's something I can tweak from my end here. I'm also trying to do something complicated, getting this stream to Boxcast. So, and I don't see it popping up on our website yet. I'm just giving it a few more minutes to tell people, oh, there it is. Okay, so it is coming up.
So Shane, on my screen and probably everyone else's, it just has our microphone that we can mute, but there's no view, no option for view.
No option for video.
No option for video.
Shane, you need to promote those other individuals to a panelist. That way you can see their video and they'll be able to speak and chat as well.
Okay, that would make sense. If I could figure out how to do that. Promote to panelists. There we go. I'm gonna promote you to panelist, Molly.
Well, okay.
All right. So do you see the video option now? So I'm promoting all the.
Man, I would have put makeup on. Hi, Molly.
I promoted you to panelist too, Michelle. Are you able to show your camera now? There you are.
Heyo. Okay.
Yeah.
Show video. Oh, sweet. Okay, now I can see everybody.
Good, and we can see you too.
Okay, and there's my video. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. I think we can probably go ahead and get started. I'm sure we'll have some stragglers coming in. So as I'd mentioned before, I changed the format just a little bit. So those of you that are accustomed to joining a Zoom meeting, I think I know most of you that are in here. I think we're okay. I could probably promote you, most everybody in here. Hi, Ernie, I see you got your hand up. So I'm going to allow all of you to talk somehow. Allow to talk. And then I guess if you want to turn on your camera, I have to invite you to panelists.
I don't see how to turn on the camera, sir.
Yeah, because apparently this is a webinar format, so apparently I need to promote you to panelist if you want to be on camera.
Well, if Warren, if you want to see Warren, he's going to sit in my chair as soon as I figure out what to do. Right now, I've got a big funny looking UPAN in my screen and I haven't figured out how to get rid of it.
All right, if this doesn't work, maybe I'll go back to the regular.
That's gonna change when they have a speaker and stuff. Shane always controls that, and we just are over on the side all the time.
Join as panelist, okay.
Okay. So I think everybody that's in here can speak. We'll go ahead and get started. So we're recording. Welcome everybody. Hi. So welcome to the UPAN meeting for September.
You see a camera on here?
Okay.
We can't see anybody.
You could see him earlier.
You have to go up to the center of your screen where it says view options, right? There's a drop down box.
Okay, it says you are viewing Shane Severson's screen, view options.
Yep, to the
Okay.
left. Hit that drop down box and click on side by side mode.
Okay,
And then on the right of the screen should pop up everybody.
yes, everybody except me. It says.
Okay, now on the
Ernest
bottom left,
Down here.
next to the microphone,
Yes.
there's
Oh,
a video camera.
now I have a camera. You're right. Okay. I don't know how to, I think we're done. Warren's going to take over my spot and I'm gonna eat dinner. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay, so we'll get started. Welcome everybody. So like I said, this is the September Zoom meeting for the UPAN meeting. So we are recording and live streaming this. When you're not talking, if you could please remute yourself, that'll help keep the background noise to a minimum. There should be like a little microphone looking button there where you can mute yourself. But feel free to come off of mute if you want to ask a question, or you can use the chat window, or we've got a new Q&A window that you can post your questions to there. And I'll do my best to get all of your questions answered. And then also, if you would like to see a video recording of this after tonight's meeting, you can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/UtahPrisoner/live. And so I'd like to just do a few welcome and introductions. First of all, for anybody that's new to UPAN's, never attended a UPAN meeting, I'd like to talk a little bit about who we are. UPAN was established in 2013. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We are 100% volunteer grassroots community outreach organization. What we do is try to simplify the incarceration process for inmate supporters, while also advocating for better conditions inside Utah's prisons and jails. We do this primarily through educating the public through these types of monthly support meetings, our UPAN newsletter, open dialogue with UDC and county jail administrators, legislative advocacy, guest speakers, coalition forming, and we also have a shared network of useful resources. But instead of membership, there's no membership dues to be part of UPAN or anything like that. But we have formed a sort of a network, like kind of a loose knit network of constituents that are formed by volunteers and advocates industry professionals, expert advisors, coalition organizations, formerly incarcerated people. And I think we have over, now it's growing to, I think, almost 1,200 Utah families, people in our support group. So there's a few useful links if you'd like to read up about UPAN and who we are, what we do. UtahPrisonerAdvocate.org is our main website. You can also go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/UtahPrisoner. And we have 2 private Facebook groups. The first one is the UPAN Family Support Group, which you can go to that link. That is primarily a link for families of the incarcerated advocates. And we just keep the dialogue going in that forum. It's a really good way to post a question. Chances are somebody's in the network. If you've got a question, somebody has probably experienced that before and can give some advice. It's a good way to network, seek emotional support for other people that are kind of going through the same thing. If you're interested in volunteering with UPAN, we also have a different working group called the UPAN Volunteers Working Group. And that's just another place to network with other UPAN volunteers. And also, if you're interested in volunteering with UPAN, we recommend that you reach out to us. You can email us at volunteer@utahprisoneradvocate.org. That email will go to our volunteer coordinator, Ann Bradshaw, which I think she may be on tonight. And she will talk to you, reach out to you, and talk about whatever opportunities or skills, whatever you're interested in, and we can see if we could put your skills to use. So we have opportunities ranging anywhere from mailing UPAN newsletters all the way up to full-blown officer or director positions. So just a few new UPAN introductions. So our latest addition to UPAN, I think actually, do I have it on here? No, I don't. Sorry, gals. We set up a new med team. So we are so excited to have people with some previous medical experience to sort of help fill the numerous questions that we have coming in. So to introduce Virginia, or Jenny Robertson, she's got a background as a nurse. And then we've also got Marcia and Lana, who also help do triage and keep track of the data, answer emails in regards to medical. I think you both have medical backgrounds, right? I'm pretty sure you do. And then they help our director of medical, Wendy Parmley, answer all the myriad of questions and issues that we have. So if you have any medical issues that are somewhat confidential, you'd like to reach out and ask anybody on that team, you can reach out at medteam@utahprisoneradvocate.org. And so I also have to preface that doesn't take the place of any medical advice that you would receive from your doctor or anything. But if you're looking to talk to somebody on the med team, we can maybe point you in the right direction. Also, recently joined us just as of the last meeting, we have Chris Moon. She's our co-founder and secretary. We're glad to have Chris back. Chris, along with Molly Prince, co-founded UPAN along with another gal named Heather Fabian back in 2013. And we're so glad to have Molly and Chris sort of steering the ship for UPAN. UPAN wouldn't exist if it wasn't for those two. So we're eternally grateful for them. I mentioned myself, I'm Shane Severson. I'm the Director of Communications for Utah Prisoner Advocate. And my job is to run the website, social media, facilitate meetings like this, kind of the background technology things. So I try to help answer some of the emails as well. We've got Faye Jenkins. She's our Director of Sex Offense Policy Issues. Gail Dawes, our Director of Women's Issues. I mentioned Wendy, our Director of Medical and Mental Health Issues. Warren Rosenbaum, our Director of Editorial, Newsletter Editor, and Bradshaw, our previously mentioned UPAN Volunteer Coordinator, and DeYoung Corkins, our Inmate Newsletter Volunteer Coordinator, and then also Kelly Bingham, another recent addition, our Director of Educational Opportunities. So that's who we are.
And Shane, we want to remember Karen Thompson is our new Director of Special Projects.
That's right.
She's not on there either. She's the one that managed to reach out to Dr. Faraji and Michelle and get this going.
Huge thank you to Karen. Like again, you know, there's just so many special needs that come up, and Karen's like the glue that helps help us keep track of all those things. So she's doing a phenomenal job. Thank you, Karen. And so with that, I think we would, unless you have any announcements, Molly, would we just like to jump into the presentation?
I think we should jump into the presentation, and then after we're finished with all the mosquito abatement issues, I'm sure families, we have updates from the weekend.
Okay, so we're going to do the mosquito presentation from the Salt Lake City Mosquito Abatement District first. And then if you stick around after that, we're going to open it up to open discussion about other issues like what Molly's talking about. We'll go over medical. We'll kind of give a recap of the vigil that we had last week, and then just kind of open up to open discussion, if that sounds okay. So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. We actually have two members of the Salt Lake City Mosquito Abatement District, or SLC MAD, who are responsible for the mosquito abatement responsibilities over the area where the new prison has been built, a lot of that swampland. Our guest speaker tonight is Michele. And Michele is, I believe she's in charge of the educational opportunities. And then we also have Dr. Faraji, who I believe runs the SLC MAD, if I'm not mistaken. And so I just want to turn the time over to them. And I don't know, Michele, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So thank you, Shane. And yeah, I want to thank Karen again for reaching out, and thank you, Molly, for inviting me to be here. I'm really excited to be a part of this, and just to kind of update you guys with some of the conversations we've been having with the prison staff and facility, and then ways that everybody can help protect themselves, and different prevention measures and things like that with mosquitoes. So I am the education specialist here at the SLC MAD. I started this position in June. I have been researching mosquitoes since 2014. I have my PhD in environmental science and have had a love-hate relationship with mosquitoes over the years. But I do really enjoy it, and I'm glad I'm here to be able to share some of the stuff that I know, and then other things that we can learn together and then also work together on for the future. So I'm going to share my screen here so I can start the presentation. Oh, it says the host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, I think I made you a panelist.
Yeah, it just says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, so I made you co-host. I think that should allow you to share your screen.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. All right, can everybody see my start of the presentation?
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. All right, so thank you guys again. I'm very happy to be here, and I hope you guys will take away some good information from this presentation. And, as always, at the end, I have my email included in here. So if anybody has other questions that maybe don't get answered within this, or you think of something later, feel free and reach out to myself or anybody else here at SLC MAD, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those questions for you. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about, of course, our operations here, some recommendations that we've given the prison facility. Something that we use here is called integrated mosquito management. And so I'll be talking a bit about that. But first, I want to talk about, what exactly are mosquitoes apart from super annoying animals that, we're trying to sit outside and enjoy ourselves, and they're just constantly there buzzing in our ear. So mosquitoes, of course, are insects, and they are called an arthropod. So this means that they have 6 legs, and you can see from these different photos here. Of course, they're flying insects, so they have their wings. They have 3 body parts. So the head, right here, thorax, and abdomen. And believe it or not, there are many different types of species of mosquitoes, even here within Utah and Salt Lake City. So Salt Lake City has about 15 different species in the area. Within the state of Utah, there's about 50 different mosquito species. In the United States, a little over 200, and in the world, 3,500 mosquitoes. So there's more than just one type that hangs out and bugs us and bothers us. And you can see just from these examples of these pictures here that I've included, they have different resting positions, different colors, patterns, a lot of different variations to them. And believe it or not, they're actually the world's deadliest animal. So they're responsible for killing over 1 million people each year. This is because of the different diseases that they can carry, and some of them can be very severe. So here I have a diagram of our basic mosquito life cycle. So this life cycle shows the Culex mosquito. So oftentimes it's referred to as the house mosquito. It's one of our more common mosquitoes that we have here around the area. So the life cycle has about 4 basic life stages. Of course, starting off with our egg. So depending on the mosquito species, she can lay her eggs on the surface of the water or sometimes attached to substrates within water. Their egg rafts can consist of up to 100 to a few hundred eggs at a time. So then those eggs develop into a larva. The larva then forms into a pupa, and then eventually the mosquito hatches out into the adult. So all of the eggs, larva, and pupa all happen within that aquatic environment. And something that I want to point out, some people are not always aware of this, but the female mosquitoes are the only ones that actually take blood meals. So males will feed only on nectar sources. And the females need the blood meal in order to nourish her eggs, and so they can develop successfully and properly. So the life cycle of the mosquitoes can take as little as 5 to 7 days for the mosquito to go from egg to adult. Sometimes it could take a little longer or take a little less. It really just depends on the environment, sometimes the temperature of the water and the air as well. And something that we should always be keeping in mind, though, is that larvae don't need very much water to thrive and develop to an adult. So as I put on the screen here, I have larvae only need 1 teaspoon of water to thrive. So, that make sure to keep in mind and keep it at the front of your head as well, that if you're out walking around in your yard or just inside and you see a drop of water, clean it up. Doesn't take very much, and it could really help reduce mosquitoes. So something that mosquitoes are not is that they are not needles. So they can't just, carry every virus around. There are certain viruses that the mosquitoes are competent to carry, like West Nile virus, which I will talk about in a little bit. So they can't carry, everything that's out there, and they can't pass it along to every other person or animal. Some examples that I included here of just some screenshots, mosquitoes cannot carry HIV or other STDs. They're not capable of spreading monkeypox or COVID or brucellosis, TB, or hepatitis. So that's just really important to keep in mind as well. But something that they are able to carry is West Nile virus. So this is one of our more common viruses that mosquitoes carry, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. It's one of the most common ones worldwide as well. And so usually in the Salt Lake City area, we will get West Nile virus positive pools of mosquitoes. Just the other week, they found the first confirmed human case of West Nile virus up north here in this area as well. So as I said, this West Nile virus is one of the most common ones. It's carried by that house mosquito or the Culex mosquitoes. One of the main vectors that we have here in Salt Lake City is called the Culex tarsalis mosquito. Thankfully, in some of our surveillance traps that we do have around the prison facility, the Culex tarsalis mosquito is not in very high numbers that are catched there. However, we do have a lot of the other species that are just very annoying and cause a lot of those itchy bumps and bites. But it's still important for us to be able to keep track and monitor all of the mosquitoes that we are collecting and that are in the vicinity. So for those who do end up getting West Nile virus, typically people won't show any signs or symptoms. Occasionally, though, people will. So, 1 in 5 people do develop a fever. Sometimes 1 in 150 people will develop a more severe illness from this infection, so such as meningitis or encephalitis. So that's the inflammation of the membrane around the brain and spinal cord, as well as inflammation of the brain. And something that I want you guys to keep in mind, not just for West Nile virus, but many of the other arthropod-borne viruses, so mosquito-borne viruses, is that there is no specific treatment or vaccine for them. So it's really important for us to go ahead and take these prevention and protection measures before we even get bit by them to avoid that. And so, I'm talking about West Nile virus a lot. There are some other historically found viruses in the Salt Lake area, like St. Louis encephalitis virus and Western equine encephalitis virus. So we have found positive pools of those in the past. So far, we haven't seen any of those around this season so far. And I do want to point out that our local population of mosquitoes that we have here in Salt Lake City do not carry Zika, chikungunya, dengue, yellow fever, or malaria. So these are some of the other potentially more severe viruses that sometimes we hear about, as well as the parasite. And so, of course, it's a cause for concern when they are here, but remember that our local population does not carry these types of diseases. So we have our different types of integrated mosquito management techniques that are here used by SLC MAD. So these include physical, biological, and chemical controls. So some examples of physical controls. So you can see this picture on the very left here. Someone is emptying a container filled with standing water. It looks pretty nasty and gross. So I'm sure there was a lot of mosquito larvae in there. So that's one way, one very simple way that even you can do, walking around your yard or your property, is just empty out containers that might be holding standing water. There's biological control. So we have a picture, I included a picture of a fish here. So this is the mosquito fish. We do have a fish hatchery here at the SLC MAD facility. So we rear and raise the mosquito fish, and residents that are within our jurisdictional boundary can request mosquito fish, and we will supply them to the residents to stock their ornamental ponds. And we have to keep in mind too that mosquito fish are non-native to the area. So we have to make sure that they're only in ornamental ponds. They cannot be released out into the wetland or any other water system that will make it into our larger bodies of water. Another type of biological control is a larvicide called BTI. So that's Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis. So this is a natural occurring bacteria, and we're actually able to use that to control some of the larvae of mosquitoes. So they'll eat the BTI, and it essentially just bursts their stomachs open. It's toxic to only them, so it's really nice for us, and obviously harms the mosquitoes. And then we have chemical control. So we will sometimes use a ultra low volume truck fogging. So that's the top photo here under the chemical title right here. And so we'll use that occasionally for adulticiding, for our adult control for mosquitoes. And then we also have the aerial spraying, which is also used for adult control. And then, of course, I always like to include the education aspect in it as well, since that's such a large part, by working together with other folks and learning and teaching each other, that's how we're able to work better together. And then I wanted to show, I included a video here of our airplane doing a adulticide treatment. So you could see it going over part of our wetland rural area, and you could kind of see some of the pesticide that was coming out. And we do only do the aerial spraying over the very rural and wetland part of our boundary. And then we also have here, get this video to play, you can watch that while I talk. So we have a couple drones. So we have a drone surveillance team here at the SLC MAD. So we use this for larvicide applications to get into areas that are very hard for us to reach, either by, we might not be able to get in on trucks, there might not be roads out there. So this is one way for us to get out there, and you can see all of the standing water out in this video here. And so we're able to reach that and reduce the mosquito population in that way. Apart from the drone surveillance team, we also have a tree hole program. Of course, the surveillance and trapping team. We have a bike team to treat catch basins, more so on the urban side. I mentioned earlier the mosquito fish program. We have the ATV crew, as well as some boats to help us reach more hard to reach places within the duck hunting club areas. Okay, so talking about some of our surveillance and trapping. So this photo here on the left is an example of one of our carbon dioxide traps that we use to collect adult mosquitoes. So you can see this old ammo can on the bottom. We have a CO2 tank that's within there. This trap is operated by a battery, which is attached to the pole. And then we have a fan that's run up on top here. So mosquitoes are generally weak flyers. So whenever this fan is going up on here, they get attracted in by the CO2, go within here and get stuck within this net. And because the fan is going, they won't be able to get back out. And so we're able to collect the nets that way, bring it back to the lab. So we're able to identify and count and sort the mosquitoes that we've collected from these different sites. And we do also test for West Nile virus here in-house. And then I wanted to show you this picture. So this is an up close view of one of our traps that have many, many adult mosquitoes within here. And this is just within one night. So we do get a lot of mosquitoes in our traps. Trapping is done a couple times a week, and the traps are set overnight. And if you look at this top graph here, so we have our CO2 trap locations with the blue bars. One of them, if you look at the center where it says Goggin, so this trap is consistently pretty high. So you can see those numbers are very high, over 16,000 adult mosquitoes collected in just one night. We do have the prison trap here. So from this date, which is about mid-August, this was a little under 2,000 adult mosquitoes. So, and you can see the differences across the rest of the trap sites here. On the bottom are the gravid trap locations, and this is mostly on our urban side, more in the downtown area in the city. So you can see the differences of the mosquito numbers here as well. And I wanted to include, this is a little more recent one from the other week, so from September 6th. Again, here is our very consistently high trap called the Goggin. And from this night, we had close to 26,000 mosquitoes from just one night within that trap. And then again, here was the prison trap that we have right outside the facility, and looks to be about maybe 3,000 adult mosquitoes that were collected. And then this other graph I wanted to also show you guys. So you can see the blue bars here. So we have the first trap night, and whichever bar has a little black arrow over it is the one that was treated with a adulticide. So you can see on the red bars, the numbers decreased pretty significantly in most of the areas that we had here. So that's just a nice way to be able to visualize and see that our treatments are in fact working. All right, so I wanted to show you guys our website here. And so we have our at slcmad.org. So feel free and jot this down. I have the website on many of the other slides as well. And I just wanted to show you, since we're talking about surveillance, you can actually go onto the website and see where our different trap sites are at. So if you go under the services tab, it'll bring you to this drop down menu. and then go down to the mosquito surveillance map. So when you're on the website, it'll come up and look something like this. When you're actually on it, you can toggle the map around and just look at the different sites. But you can click on one of them and it'll show up throughout the whole season of the mosquito numbers. And again, when you're actually on the website, you'll be able to move this bar down a little ways and it'll actually show you the mosquito species composition. So you can see what types of species were collected from what site. So if you're really interested in it, it's kind of cool to be able to go on there and poke around. Okay, and then we're going to talk about some of our service requests. So we're going back to the home page here under the services page. Services, and then you can pick whichever is your issue. So if you're trying to report a mosquito problem, you can click there. If you're requesting mosquito fish or reporting standing water. So this can be really important and can be really helpful to assist you guys or your loved ones, friends or family. If you're having a mosquito issue, you can go right on our website and fill this out. So the form will look something like this. And you can see if you're within our jurisdictional boundary, where you can enter your address and it'll pull up on a map, which I'll show in a second. And then if you are not within our boundary, you are in one of these other ones. And so right on our website, it shows up on here, the other abatement districts that are surrounding, that'll link you right to their webpage and give you their phone number. So, feel free and give them a call as well. So you basically fill out on here what type of treatment or requests you would like. If there's any access issues that we should know about, and you can write any more comments on there for us that might be important for us to know. Same thing on here. So in this one, you'll select your location and it'll show up on this map and we'll be able to tell you if you are in fact in our boundary or not. And then just go ahead and submit it and it'll go right into our system. And one of the supervisors will be able to go out and check out the location for you. Okay, so now I am going to get into some of the conversations and recommendations that we've had with the prison facility and some of the staff there as well. And let me front load this by saying, be patient with all of us and bear with us. We're learning as we go along, having the new prison facility there in the middle of the wetlands with such an abundance of mosquitoes. So we're really trying to see what works and how we can really collaborate and work really well together on this issue. So some of the recommendations that we ended up giving to the staff at the prison, of course, I mentioned this already, is the aerial adult control or adulticide. So again, we have our photo here of one of our airplanes doing an aerial treatment. And so these will happen, as the sun goes down. And of course, we always take into consideration the amount of adult mosquitoes that we have collected. And what types of species are there. And so we're hoping that by doing these aerial sprayings, that we are able to provide at least some relief from doing these. And we've already done a handful of them. Something else is the aerial larval control. So we are able to do a larvicide treatment with airplane as well. But we kind of want to see how the adulticides go first throughout the season before we go ahead and do that. There's many catch basins around the prison facility. So that's something that we suggested, is to make sure that the staff there are keeping up with all the treatments on that. So far, SLC MAD has treated about 90% of the catch basins. And what's good with these is that some of the products that we're able to use can last almost all season long. So you only have to treat it at the beginning of the season and it should last you for a few months. Some other recommendations are placing different traps to get mosquitoes or other biting insects like other biting flies or midges, since it's not just the mosquitoes that are out around in the wetland. And so this can look like putting smaller traps within the entrance or the foyer areas of the prison to help trap any of the adult mosquitoes that may have gotten in that way. And then it's also, putting some larger traps outside the prison perimeter or outside in the yards, and then other traps that target specifically those other types of biting insects. All right, and so we're going to keep going along with our suggestions list, inspecting the moat regularly, as there is water that stands still, and so that kind of creates the perfect habitat for mosquitoes. So we want to make sure that everybody is keeping check of those to prevent any bursts of mosquito populations. The another type of adult application, I mentioned it briefly, is the truck spraying or the ultra low volume, which is ULV. So these adult applications can take place on the perimeter road by the prison. So that's another way to help reduce some of the mosquitoes. And we also have an option of the barrier or residual applications. So these applications will be sprayed onto structures or walls or vegetation. The only thing about these is that sometimes by doing these, they will actually build up a higher resistance in some of our wild population of mosquitoes. So we want to make sure that we are not building up that resistance for them against these different pesticides that we use. And these applications only last about a couple weeks. So we might see if there are some other options we can use first before going with that. And then vegetation and watering schedules. So I know in one of my emails with Karen, she mentioned briefly that I think the prison was, or UPAN was working with the extension to work with the prison of maybe xeriscaping or doing something different with their landscaping out there. And that's a very great idea. Mosquitoes can actually rest within vegetation and tall grass and things like that. And so if you're watering the area, disturbs the mosquitoes, they fly up and they can bother you that way. So reducing the amount of vegetation and xeriscaping would be a wonderful idea to help reduce some of those resting spots for mosquitoes. And then, of course, providing insect repellent wipes. So picaridin is a really good one, DEET. And so essentially these wipes, you can just put them, if you have your arm on exposed skin, arms, legs, to help. And it works just like, any other spray repellent as well, works really well to help keep the mosquitoes as well as other biting insects off. As I mentioned before, education is a huge one. So again, that's why we're all here as well, is to continue to learn with each other and from each other to help the situation in the long run. And then best management practices. So hopefully by all these recommendations and then other ones that we come up with as well, that we can develop best management practices that will help in the long term with this prison, as well as other locations, not just in Utah, but anywhere else in the United States as well. So I do want to touch briefly on some of the pesticides that are used. So again, this is a screenshot of our website. So if you go back to the homepage, go to the drop-down section, we'll have a product label and SDS section there. You can click on that and it will actually bring you to both the larval and adult mosquito control products. So all of the SES, which is the safety data sheets, and then the labels are all provided on our website. So if anybody is curious to learn more about them, they're all available there. So larva and adult. And keep in mind too that all of the staff here at the SLC MAD, we are all licensed with our pesticide applicator license, and we always follow the label. The label is the law, so we always abide by that. And pesticide use is safe when we're following the instructions and following the labels in that way. And then I wanted to just show a few little screenshots here. I do have the links for these. So if anybody is interested to learn more about pesticide use and mosquitoes in general through the Environmental Protection Agency and Centers for Disease Control, I can share these links with either Shane, Molly, or Karen, and you guys can pass those along to whoever wants them, or if you want to share it on your website or something like that, we can definitely do that. So this is just, statements and information about mosquito control from the EPA and CDC, just giving some more general information about the products that mosquito control organizations use, and that the pesticides used all undergo years and years of rigorous studies through the EPA before we're even allowed to use them. So they're all registered and approved. So that's just some more little information here that if you guys are interested, I'll be more than happy to share these links with you later on. And so now let's get into just some more simple and easy things that you guys can take, and you can share this with friends and family about how to prevent mosquito bites, mosquito habitat, and protect yourself. So always be aware of the time of day that you are outside. If you're just enjoying, relaxing, recreating. Most of the mosquitoes that we have here in the Salt Lake area, they will bite at the beginning of the day and at night. So really early morning, dusk and dawn. So always keep that in mind. And then use EPA registered and approved insect repellent. It does work. So you could use the wipes as an example that I showed earlier, or different types of sprays. DEET, picarotin, oil of lemon eucalyptus work really well. Make sure to cover up and wear light colored clothing, as well as long sleeve shirts and pants. So cover up exposed skin to prevent the mosquitoes from biting those areas. Hands a lot of the times, our face and things like that. And then make sure that you're mosquito proofing windows, screens, doors. They're very sneaky. They can get in to any little area. So make sure you're checking for any holes or spots that they can enter. And then we have, I wanted to show you a nice example of, so this is, common backyard mosquito sources. This can apply for anywhere, whether it's your work building, around the facility, at the prison, in your own backyard. There are a lot of different things and objects that can hold water, and sometimes we just don't think about it. On here, I like to point out the tree holes. So I did mention we do have a tree hole program. If you have a really tall tree, sometimes you don't know what's up there and you could be breeding mosquitoes. So it's always good to know what's in your backyard. Sometimes lower areas in your yard that might collect rainwater, that can breed mosquitoes. Make sure you're refreshing your bird baths if you have pet dishes out there. Some other examples, I've mentioned catch basins before. Here we have an uncapped fence post. So, sometimes it just goes over our heads and we don't think about it, but within those fence posts, water can collect and breed mosquitoes. So we can cap those up. Abandoned or neglected swimming pools are always a good location for mosquitoes. They just love it. And then tire ruts, or even if you think of livestock pastures, hoof prints can collect water, and I've seen tons of larvae in those before. So those are just some examples and ways that we can help prevent mosquito habitats. And then here I wanted to show you the SLC MAD jurisdictional boundary. So you can see where we are located here. Here is the new prison facility over here. And again, on our website, you can type in your address to make sure if you are within the jurisdictional boundary. If you're not, you can contact any of these other abatement districts that are surrounding us. So all of their information is here. Our website also has direct links to their sites as well. And then the Utah Mosquito Abatement Association has a full list of the Utah abatement districts across the state, as well as some other information. And, please feel free and give us a call, email us. My email is provided on the bottom here. So, please reach out to me if you have any other questions, or if maybe you're, too shy and you don't want to ask anything tonight, or you think of something, when you can't sleep at night, just reach out to us and we're more than happy to help. As well as if anybody would like to set up and come tour our facility, we would welcome that, and we would love for you guys to learn more, even more in depth than just this presentation. So thank you guys again so much. I'm really happy that I was able to be a part of this, and I hope you guys learned a little bit. And yeah, thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Michele. Really, really good information to have there. So I think we want to use the next few minutes to just open it up to questions. Chris, just let me know. I guess participants cannot see the chat window. Is that correct? Sorry. So you can use the Q&A window. I don't know if just hosts and panelists can see the chat window, but there's a couple of questions in the chat window I can just read out loud. And then if any of you have questions, feel free to unmute yourselves or put it in the Q&A window. Gail asks, are female mosquitoes able to produce eggs repeatedly? And then Dr. Faraji said, would you like to read what you said, Dr. Faraji?
Sure, I can do that. And can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry about that. And I don't want to trump Michelle's presentation, but I'm sure she can probably use a break from speaking. So most mosquitoes actually only blood feed once and oviposit or lay their eggs. But unfortunately, since we're dealing with millions of mosquitoes, this is really a numbers game at the end of the day. And this is really how disease transmission occurs. As Dr. Rehbein mentioned earlier, most of these arboviral or mosquito-borne diseases are maintained between mosquitoes and birds in their natural ecological cycles. We're concerned about the ones that can occasionally feed on an infected bird, pick up that potential pathogen, and then transmit it to a human or another dead-end host for their second blood feeding. So the short answer is yes, it does occur, because obviously we have disease transmission as a result of mosquitoes, but fortunately, it's actually very few mosquitoes that can successfully do that.
And then up next, it looks like Gail also asked, she said the prison commissary isn't selling repellent wipes. Hopefully the prison is providing insect repellent. Do you happen to know anything about that in your conversations?
Sure, I can comment on that. And this is something that they are actively working on and something that they are definitely interested in providing to the prisoners and the guards and everybody else that works at the prison property. But as you guys can understand, there is a variety of different issues that need to be vetted to ensure the safety of even these repellents before they are issued to the general population. They have to ensure that they're not flammable, that they can't be inhaled, they can't be used to poison other inmates, that you can't extract alcohol from them. This is just a small list of things that has been discussed with me. So they are actively working on it. And I would just ask you guys to be a little bit more patient with them as they vet the safety of these products before they're put into general use.
Great.
Thank you. That was a conversation, just for everybody's information. I had a conversation, excuse me, today with Caitlin Felstead, and she said they are working on it. They are worried about the flammability. And so I use something myself just because of chemical reactions that worked when I toured the prison out there, and it's all basic, like this lemon citronella oil type of base, and it worked. And she said that they were looking at all of them. And just for everybody's information, in Gunnison, they will stand at the door when people go out to the yard and let them put repellent on versus it being in the inmate's possession. So I suggested that could at least be a measure to start with in the prison. But I am so thankful to both of you for educating the prison. Thank you.
Well said, Molly. Lana, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, hi. By the way, it says Ernest Rogers up there. And if I fumble and screw up, you can blame Ernest Rogers. And if I contribute something positive, you can blame Warren Rosenbaum, who I'm the editor of the newsletter. Anyway, I was wondering, I had no idea there was a mosquito problem around. I live in Pleasant Grove and we're up about 5,000 feet. I was wondering, do mosquitoes come up this high and can they survive at this altitude? And also, how far do they travel? Like, do they have a range of like 100 yards from their home station, or what's just a little bit of background on how the mosquitoes survive during the winter, for example?
Sure. All excellent questions. Michelle, do you want me to take this or would you like to?
Oh, you can go ahead and take it.
Okay. So multifaceted series of questions, but I'll answer them as best as I can. So yes, mosquitoes are found essentially everywhere. And as Dr. Rehbein mentioned earlier in her presentation, we deal with about 26 different species of mosquitoes just in our jurisdiction alone. They are very ecologically separated according to different niches, according to different seasons. So there is a temporal difference, there's a spatial difference, there's a geographic difference, there's a latitudinal difference as well. There are certain mosquitoes that we call univoltine or one generation mosquitoes that really hatch out as soon as the snow starts to melt. And oftentimes you can find these in isolated snow pool habitats as high up as 10, 12,000 feet. And we have other common mosquitoes that we're dealing with out in these wetland habitats surrounding the Great Salt Lake and the prison in particular. As far as movement, generally the two species that are the most prevalent for us near the prison are called Culex tarsalis that Michelle mentioned earlier, and also Aedes dorsalis. These are both what we call floodwater mosquitoes that essentially develop and are reproduced inside of these large wetland habitats that are surrounding the prison. These mosquitoes are actually strong flyers. They can move about a mile a night. And they kind of use the canals and the streams and the rivers that are out there as sort of super highways to allow them to navigate and get towards the city where the mass majority of our human population is. Now that's changed a little bit with the prison going in, because now you have upwards of 4,000 people that are incarcerated and working within the prison yard. So some of them may not have as much to fly to go find a blood meal. As far as overwintering, we also call that dipause, and different mosquito species will overwinter or spend the winter months in a different physiological stage. Some of them actually overwinter in the egg stage, so the eggs can remain dormant within soil for months on end, and they can successfully withstand sub-freezing temperatures. And there are other mosquito species that actually overwinter as inseminated adult females, kind of similar to what a bear does. Prior to going into hibernation, a bear is going to eat a ton of food, develop its fat body, and then go find a nice shelter to kind of rest in during these harsh environmental times. Some mosquitoes can also do that in the adult stage.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to jump in real quick. Refer to my notes here. There was a slide where you had the count of the mosquitoes at the prison. I believe it was just before you did the aerial spray, and then another count 2 days later. I think it was August 22nd, and then again on the 24th, and you could see a significant decline. Did you do counts any further out after that to see if it went down or maintained or went back up? I asked because talking to a couple people at the prison, what I was told was they noticed right after their spray, the aerial spray, that the mosquitoes will be better for a few days and then they go right back up. I'm just wondering if that's something you've noticed as well, or if they're just, I have one more question as well, but I'll let you.
Sure. So I'll speak on this a little bit, and then if Ari wants to add anything, because he knows a little more than I do anyway. So, we've done about a handful of adulticide treatments using the airplane over the prison. And then, within the presentation too, I don't know if you remember, I said that we set up traps about twice a week. And so we do it consistently. Every week, the lab goes through and they monitor and count and sort the species and numbers of mosquitoes. So sometimes it does fluctuate from week to week, going up and down, and depending on when the aerial treatments were done. But you have to keep in mind as well that since the prison is in the middle of the wetland, that there are a lot of spaces and areas and habitat for the mosquitoes to be consistently breeding in, as well as with the weather. So if we have more precipitation, or if it's hot or dry and things like that, that can also come into play, and can sometimes have an increase in abundance of mosquitoes, just depending on the weather. So there's a lot of different factors. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe Ari has some more to say
Sure.
about that.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, Ms. Michaels. That graph that Dr. Rehbein showed, that actually consists of over 37 different traps that are put out generally on a Monday, retrieved on a Tuesday, and then a control intervention or a treatment is conducted on a Wednesday. And then we go back out again and do it all over again. So we are routinely monitoring these populations throughout the course of the season, at least twice a week. So just because we have a certain aerial spray block, for example, where we conduct this application, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're only controlling mosquitoes in that area, because just as we mentioned earlier, these mosquitoes have a lot of movement. But it's important to understand that these aerial adult mosquito control measures, or the adulticiding that we keep mentioning, are really ephemeral or short-lived at the end of the day. What we really prefer to do is to treat the mosquitoes in their larval or aquatic habitats. And think of it this way, every single one of you guys are sitting in a room right now. If there are adult mosquitoes in that room, we can come in and we can conduct an adult control measure, and we can knock those adult mosquitoes down very, very quickly and have a very short-lived relief as a result of it. But unless we're getting to the aquatic habitats where the mosquitoes are consistently being produced from, you're gonna reoccur with that problem over and over again. That problem is going to continue to arise. So even though we conduct these adult control measures to knock down these populations, it's really not getting to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is in the standing water. And unfortunately, when you have 40,000 acres of wetland habitats surrounding the prison, it is extremely difficult to get inside every nook and cranny of aquatic habitat that's producing these mosquitoes. So yeah, the short answer is they are very effective in knocking those adult populations down, and they will provide relief not just to the prison, but the surrounding habitats as well.
Okay, and one more question. Somebody that works at the prison mentioned that nearby there's a bird refuge, and one of the species there's their primary source of food or preferred source of food is the mosquito, and the refuge, they claimed, breeds mosquitoes to feed these birds. Is that something that you know of? Is this true?
Yeah.
Is that something you can speak on? And
Sure.
Why would they do that if this is the wetlands? There are such a prime breeding ground already for the mosquitoes.
Sure. So let me, Michelle, I'll take this one and you can add on to it if I miss anything. So I think it's important to understand that mosquitoes have a right to be here as much as we do. They're another living species on this planet, and they're part of this ecological cycle that we deal with. And unfortunately, there is nothing that we can do to exterminate mosquitoes. As much as we would love to, we cannot get rid of them completely. What we generally try to do is suppress them to tolerable levels so that they are not impacting the quality of life of the residents, the inmates, the guards that we're dealing with, and also that they're not responsible for public health transmission of some of these pathogens that we speak about. We cannot completely get rid of them. And oftentimes when you do that in nature, another species ends up taking over that ecological cycle that is far worse, far more detrimental to the overall well-being of our environment at the end of the day. Now, going back to your specific question about this nature preserve, I believe you're talking about the Audubon that owns a lot of property, about 4,000 acres, that's not too far away from the prison. And unfortunately, yes, they're in the mosquito breeding business while we're in the mosquito control business. And in years past, we've actually provided them a lot of leeway in flooding their fields because frankly, there really wasn't a large human population out there. But things have changed and they understand this. And so they are actively working with us and allowing us more access into their property. So that way we can conduct not only larval control measures, but also adult control measures as needed. Now, I will mention one other thing. You mentioned that there is a certain species of a bird that feeds on mosquitoes as its primary food source. That is actually absolutely not true. There are some avian species, some bird species that will feed prevalently on another sibling species called the chironomid midge, or a non-biting midge. Those midges are found in a lot of similar habitats that mosquitoes are, but by themselves, mosquitoes do not contribute to a great food source within our avian populations out there, neither in the adult or the larval stage.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I'm looking to see if there was any other questions coming up here. Cindy asked, what insect or animal predators do mosquitoes have? So you mentioned a few. Are there any others that are indigenous, I guess, to Utah?
There are.
Yeah.
There's a variety of different species. Sorry, Michelle, I'll take it and then you can finish up
Okay,
with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Given the abundance of the mosquitoes that we're dealing with out there, there are a multitude of other species that will feed on them. There are dragonflies and damselflies that will feed on them in the larval stage and potentially the adult stage. There are certain bird species that will occasionally feed on adult mosquitoes and even juvenile mosquitoes. And we have other insect predators that feed on them as well. But unfortunately, the abundance of these mosquitoes is so great out there that no predator by itself is going to even put a dent in the overall burden of the mosquitoes that we're dealing with out there. Sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
No, you pretty much said the same exact thing that I was going to say.
Bats included in that, I suppose?
Yeah, unfortunately, the concept of bats being an efficient mosquito control agent is actually, unfortunately, not true. And a lot of this goes back to some studies that were done back in the 1950s, where these researchers took a few bats and they put them inside a cage and they released an X number of mosquitoes. And they observed that the bats ate this many mosquitoes in this amount of time. And so, unfortunately, they extrapolated that number. And they said, well, if a bat can eat this many mosquitoes in this many minutes, then a population of bats should be able to eat this many mosquitoes in a given night. But when you think about a bat and a purple martin on the bird end, or even a dragonfly can also be applied to this, a bat echolocates its prey generally at night. And the mechanism of flight takes a lot of energy. So if you're a bat out at night and you're looking for something to eat, you're generally you're echolocating some of the larger insects that are flying around at that time. So a large moth, for example, or a large beetle, because you just get a lot of bang for your buck. Unfortunately, some studies have shown that mosquitoes only compromise about 5% or less of a bat's overall diet. So putting up bat houses or purple martin houses just isn't going to solve the mosquito problem out there.
Great, thank you. And Madeline, I see you've got your hand up. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes. I guess I want to know why this wasn't addressed before they moved the prisoners into the prison, because Lord knows they had enough workers out there for enough time to know that this was an issue, and that then they could have, instead of always being a day late and a dollar short getting things done, they could have had this treatment plan done and handed out the wipes to everybody instead of always running, behind. I don't understand why there's no forethought in what they do.
I don't think either Dr. Rehbein or myself are in a position to answer that. I will tell you that from our perspective, these were issues that we discussed both with the consultants on the project prior to any construction and also with administrative services throughout the construction process.
And so the prison didn't think to do anything about it?
I'm going to jump in with that because I don't think that the mosquito abatement folks can answer that. But there's been a lot of people that have tried to talk to Utah Department of Corrections about this issue, including even before the prison started being built. There was a group of us when UPAN first started that was one of our concerns, was that it was close to the airport and it was in the wetlands, and mosquitoes were going to be rampant, and we worried about the instability of the ground. So we were told, but at the risk, I mean, this is not anything I have verification of, but there is a big financial gain for certain people who are going to inherit or have access to developing the point of the mountain. And I think there were politics and things involved that were way beyond what we as the general community are going to know when those decisions were made.
I will mention this, folks. We have been working with Department of Corrections since they have moved in, and I couldn't speak higher on their behalf. They've been very receptive to some of the recommendations that we have made. They're willing to work with us. They're willing to financially assist us in this endeavor as well. So that way we can figure out really what the best method of developing some sort of a best management practices is going to be for the prison moving forward.
That brings up a good follow-up question that I see. So Becky asks, so as far as the wipes and the sprays and all that, do we know yet who's going to pay for that? Is that financial burden going to be on the inmates, or is it going to be subsidized through either the prison or the county or through you guys, or how does that work? Do you know?
I don't think it would come out of our budget, although there are potential sources that we're trying to help them with during this process. But at the end of the day, I believe this would be something that would be coming out of Department of Corrections budgeting. Now, whether or not they're going to turn around and provide this at the commissary or just provide it to the inmates, those are decisions that are well above our pay grades here to figure out.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then I see Cassidy asks, has climate change made an impact on mosquitoes? And if so, in what ways?
Yes. So there's, I used to work down in the Moab district, and that was a really good example of just the changing weather and the climate. So down in Moab, there is now the invasive mosquito called Aedes aegypti. And so this mosquito can carry viruses like Zika, chikungunya, and dengue. Thankfully, it's restricted to Moab for now, but that's also the importance of why everybody needs to work together to try and reduce these mosquitoes. It was originally thought that this mosquito wouldn't expand its range up into Utah, and now it's here. And so it's just a really good example that with temperatures getting hotter, we're in a severe drought right now. So when we do get water, it concentrates into certain areas. We get a greater number of mosquitoes in those areas. They're all concentrated, especially when you think about the wetland with all the different mosquito habitats that are there. So a lot of these invasive mosquitoes, as well as the ones that we typically find here, you can just see a great burden of them and an increase of their numbers as well. So yeah, climate change does affect the amount of mosquitoes that you see.
Yeah, and one other thing is, the expansion of the season has been really, really troublesome for us. Historically, our season would wrap up by the beginning of September. But because of these increasing temperatures, heck, we were in triple digits up until last week. The temperatures are just producing more and more mosquitoes. They're also increasing the rate of replication within the viruses that they harbor. And our traditional workforce has mostly been college students, but colleges and universities are also starting up earlier as well. So it's not uncommon for us to lose the vast majority of our workforce by the second week in August. Well, when your season is going through the month of September, that makes it very, very difficult on us to try to get as much done with fewer people. And then on top of that, you guys are not aware of this, but a lot of these wetland habitats that are surrounding the prison are actually owned by private duck hunting clubs. These are the waterfowl management clubs. And historically, they have not allowed us access onto their properties when the youth hunt starts on September 15th. And that's something that we're also actively working with them to understand that everything's changing. Our climate is changing, our land use patterns are changing, our landscape is changing, and they also have to bend a little bit and change a little in order to adapt and allow us to really do our jobs as efficiently as possible.
Okay, well, I don't see any other questions. Anybody else have questions before we move on?
I would just like to say thank you for this. I never knew until the last month or two how complicated mosquitoes were. So I am so thankful for you. I'm going to learn to say your name, Dr. Rehbein.
Yes.
Okay. I am so thankful for you and all of the research you've done in becoming an expert on mosquitoes. And Dr. Faraji, I want to thank you. And it sounds like you're doing a lot more than educating prison families. You're educating Utah Department of Corrections, but now it sounds like these private landowners as well. This has created an immense opportunity, but an immense task. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Okay, I think we'll move on to the next portion of the meeting here. So Molly, I suppose there was a number of topics that we wanted to summarize. How would you like to?
Let me get to my notes. So let me turn on my light. I'm sorry. Just for everyone, all the families who are very worried about what's been going on. I was able to talk to Caitlin Felsted today about what happened this weekend at USCF at the New Salt Lake prison. We had rumors or comments that they were riots, or much more what she told me today. And I'm going to qualify this with what she told me is based on what she's allowed, basically, to what she's authorized by the prison to say. But she said that it was not a riot, that it was limited to one facility, and that oh my goodness, too many notes. It was one fight in one facility on Saturday evening. She could not tell me how many people were injured, but she could tell me that 2 people did go to the hospital for their injuries, and they are back on the prison site as of when I talked to her this afternoon at about 2 o'clock. And she said they are having modified lockdowns, mostly limited to the buildings associated with the fights, or associated maybe with people that were associated with others in the fights. She would not confirm the gang affiliations that were involved. There was a lot that she would not confirm for me, because she said it's an ongoing investigation. But nothing else happened on Sunday. I know there were a lot of concerns on the Facebook family group about things that happened on Sunday, or why was Gunnison locked down. And and oftentimes when there are things like this, they will lock down both facilities or certain sections of both facilities that may be somehow connected with the people that were involved in the fights in one of the facilities. But she said nothing else happened yesterday. And she said that UDC is taking this very seriously. And I do believe that when we go to Caitlin, the public information office, or some of her superiors about concerns about inmate safety, they do take it seriously. I did stress my concern that there are times when inmates go to officers about safety and the officers do not take it seriously and don't send it up the chain of command. And because I was referring to the Ted Davey incident, we agreed that she did not have to respond, but I wanted to be clear that, one, that's what I meant, because she brought up that I said something in a news media press with Nate Carlisle. But I wanted to make it clear that we do hear from families that incarcerated people are going to officers and not being listened to. So she did not confirm or deny anything related to the Ted Davey situation because she can't. But I felt good that I was able to clarify that regardless of what might get to the top, that UPAN can send to the top, people are still talking to people down in the housing units and not being listened to. So I'm trying to help everyone have a voice about these safety concerns. She confirmed that they are still trying to figure out the logistics, but to add more phones in all of the sections. She couldn't give me numbers and she couldn't give me a timeline. She also, we talked a lot about the ADA issues, the people with disability issues in current, not having proper handrails that they can grip and things like that. She also she didn't not confirm it. She just didn't confirm it. I don't know how to say this. There's a lot of things when we talk with Caitlin that she can't really comment on if she's not authorized to. So I throw it out there. And if I get a response, I get a response. And if I don't, I don't. But there are still people that have fallen through the cracks, and she wants us, meaning families and UPAN, to continue emailing them about the medical issues that prisoners are not receiving medications or not being seen by medical. So she's totally supportive of that. And she reiterated, please keep communicating. So that's for families and that's for us, on the med team, that we'll keep doing that. Those are the most pressing things.
Is this for the families to email to the corrections at
Yes.
utah.gov?
Yeah, that goes to actually the public information office, and Liam Truchard opens those and answers those. So either if it's corrections at utah.gov, or if it's L Truchard at utah.gov, or if it's K.E. Felstead at utah.gov, they all manage to get funneled into that office. And then I can't tell you which person always sees it, but those are recorded. They're trying to keep a database of the different issues, whether it's medical or safety or something else. Because the goal that she has talked to me about is that they want to be able to see trends as they're happening, and hopefully before they're happening, like as they're increasing, that they can say, oh, something must be wrong in our system. So they will record all the data in terms of what the issues are, but they do forward the emails to the appropriate division, including medical. Yes. Do we have other questions? I know we have quite a few family members on here. Moto G Power.
Oh, I think that's me.
Okay.
My name's Pam, and my daughter has some severe heart problems that I've posted before.
Mhm.
What I'm concerned about also besides her heart problems is, I don't know how I show my picture on here, or my face, I don't know how, but I am concerned that the COVID's going around again in sections 4 and 5 on Dale low side. I don't know if 4 and 5 is high side, but
Okay.
she's in the section 3, and we've heard the COVID is going around again, section 4, and they don't have any masks available for the inmate. That was yesterday. I hope they're getting masks soon.
I will email her. I can email her about the masks and find out, because her people, which I think are medical, are telling her that they're still following COVID protocols. So if they're not, we need to tell them. So no masks in Dell 4 and 5, at least for sure on section 3.
Yeah, I've been told that there aren't any masks available to the inmate right as of yesterday.
Okay.
Hey, Molly. Yeah, there's a total of 14 in 4 and 5. I emailed the corrections.org and just let them know that the women need masks. Some of them don't have soap. They're still working, and a breakout has happened in their culinary section, the women's culinary section. And at least there's 8 in one area and 6 in one area, and about 4 of them work in culinary. So no telling how many people got infected there. There's no masks, and still there's no bleach. They're not able to buy bleach. Another issue that came up with that conversation was, I found out Deputy Zorn is in charge of culinary.
Oh, is that where he went?
Yes. So I emailed him. I said, hey, friend, it's been a year since we touched base. So I just let him know that the chef is really upset because culinary for the women is so small that they're running into each other's. And it's just very uncomfortable. And so with the spread of COVID, that's a concern with that little space. And anybody that's working there is definitely compromised. I mean, they're just pretty worried. So anyway, we did send an email to the corrections.org, plus let Zorn know that the space is very insufficient. It's just, I think, 2 problems I hope that they address ASAP.
Thank you, Gail. Would you, when you send that or send copies to the med team at Utah Prisoner Advocate is it org or com, you guys? I'll text you what, because Lana is trying to track issues for us.
Yeah.
So if you can CC, I can't ever remember. Lana, what is is it med team at Utah or just
UtahPrisonerAdvocate.org.
.org? I'm sorry. We can make sure you have that email. And that's for any directors. If you can just continue to send it, or at least to Lana Michaels at UtahPrisonerAdvocate.org, right?
Yeah, Lana.Michaels.
Okay, Lana.Michaels at UtahPrisonerAdvocate.org, because she's the one that's attempting, I don't know how, to track it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. How's that coming along, the data?
I'm hoping to have it all. Well, I will have it all squared away by the end of the month. I have to, right, Wendy?
Yeah, we're we're keeping sort of track. And it's easy now that we have the med team because we can at least just go to the emails on that and track it, you know, start counting in terms of the medical issues. But we're, for all volunteers, I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. The information, you know, the information is not thorough because we just know there's 14, but we don't have names or inmate numbers or when, how, you know, all the W's of how they think they caught the COVID, or, you know, like there's contact listing of who are you around, that type of information I just don't have.
Right. And the guards obviously bring it in, as do visitors, as do staff. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're very limited in reporting anything.
Will you just forward me what you've already sent? Please. That would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we okay to move to Madeline? Hello, Madeline.
Yes, please.
Hi. I have a couple of questions. I help people that are in jails and in both prisons, and kind of just advocate for them to get them things that they need, or, you know, basically essentials and stuff like that. But, and I deal with medical quite a bit up in Salt Lake. And because a couple of the people that I deal with up there, I'm their power of attorney, and I'm in the UDOC system. And I just have a really hard time. I mean, I call up there and talk to Amy all the time, but there again, it's like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And she doesn't seem to have access to all the information, such as if they're scheduled to go, if the scheduler has made an appointment to take them back up to the U after, you know, they've had a procedure done or something. I know they're not going to tell me when, and that's not the question. It was, did the scheduler make it? Because they were supposed to have this thing removed from them with it 6 days after the procedure. And it was 7 or 8 weeks when it finally got done, to the point where she was having physical pain from it. And they finally got her up there and had it removed. But it's not just that, it's just everything you call on, they rarely call you back. And when you have really legitimate questions, and I worked medical for a long time, and so I do have some knowledge and background on things. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, other than the lack of good medical, is I was informed by 2 different people that the new commissary supplier initially was sending out outdated food up to 2 years old.
Yes. So I've sent that information to Caitlin. She sent it off to UCI. And I asked a question today. I said, who is the primary supplier? Because we've been told Union Supply and we've been told Keefe Supply, Keefe, K-E-E-F-E. But a few months ago, before they moved, I got a list of about a dozen suppliers that they used. And we were told they were switching everything over. Caitlin could not answer that question. And I wondered if Union Supply might be their primary product supplier, and Keefe, since Keefe and IC Solutions are connected, I wonder if Keefe was going to be the primary electronic inventory and ordering system that has not been successfully implemented after the move. But when we get more information on that, we will update it on the
Molly,
Facebook. Yes.
Madeline, when was the last time you heard that they were receiving expired food? Because I haven't heard that for a few weeks now.
I was
what
gonna
I've
say
heard-
about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I've heard that the last few weeks, everything's been coming in fine food wise. There's just been an issue with sometimes they're not receiving all of their food. And possibly they've been charged for it. So they have to keep track of whether or not they need to request a refund on the commissary side. I also have a comment on the fusion and your first comment. If we're done with it,
Yeah.
if there's nothing more on the commissary stuff. So,
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
So what you were saying about Amy not being able to see appointments and things like that, I'm not sure that she may not be withholding things from you, because I've heard that even the med techs that do the pill lines in the sections can't access the inmates' doctor's appointments. So when they're in the pill lines and they're going up there to see if they need to put in another ICR for a doctor's appointment, they can't see whether or not they've been scheduled to see the doctor. And I don't know if that's an issue with fusion once again or not. And I'm sorry, there's been so many things happening, Molly, and with you just barely getting back in town, I totally spaced talking to you about that. So thanks for reminding me to bring that up.
You know what? I will
I
ask.
think that's important that they be able to see that, or,
I will ask, because I've been told, and I don't know what they're doing now. Okay, I know back years ago, my loved one hasn't been in there since 2014 in the Utah system. Therefore, I'm speaking from old stuff. We were told a long time ago that very few people are going to know about appointments because of safety and security, because they don't want even if it's to go to the medical right there, because if there are any conflicts, they don't want anybody telling anybody, so bad things can happen. Now, I don't know if that's still true today. That's 8 years ago. I will ask who, like, are med techs allowed to have access, and does Amy have access to doctor appointment schedules? And
it would be nice if they could.
Rationale is.
If it would be nice if not even knowing, not having to know when the appointments
Right.
are scheduled, just knowing
Yeah.
if they are scheduled, especially with so many ICRs not being responded to.
Correct.
So they don't have to flood the system with more ICRs when it's not necessary.
That's a really,
I've been told that they have to send in as many as 5 or 6 requests to try and get in just one time, that they're being ignored.
yeah, I have not been able to find out if they've got that part of the record system up for appointments. They're working on the prescriptions first. But it doesn't feel like they've got the appointments up, because the people I've taken all the way to the top are people that for weeks have not, no matter how many ICRs, have not been seen. And so, Madeline, if you will email us at the medteam@utahprisoner.org of the specific people who have gone long periods of time, have done their ICRs, done what they're supposed to, then we can take it, we can bump it up a little bit.
I can do that because, I just want to make sure people get taken care of, because there's as you all know, there's a lot of people out there that don't have any family or family won't assist them in anything. And I just try to do that for people. And, I don't do it for everybody. I'm kind of selective about who I'll do it for, as far as, because they have to be trustworthy, for me to bend over backwards for them.
Right.
And so, but in general, I hear a lot of things. And as far as I know, as of 2 days ago, they still haven't been receiving medications, that they were taking off all their mental health drugs, and people are having real issues with it.
Yes, if there's anyone still not getting their psychotropic, their mental health medications, that's something else. If you have their name and their number, if you have the name of the medication, great. If you don't, just say psychotropic. And then for the number of weeks they've been off of it, and that they have, well, we need to be able to, they need to have put in ICRs, because I can't take it to the very top if the person incarcerated hasn't done their ICR, if we haven't gone through some processes.
Right.
But I can take it if I have the information and if they have processes that they've gone through. For example, I'll just generically, there was an elderly man who'd been without his metformin for 45 days and put in multiple ICRs. And the med techs were being rude about it, or the officers were being rude about it. And cross your fingers, but I was able to take it to the top. We got confirmation that he had gotten them. I asked to please, be updated if he stopped getting them again. And we haven't heard that he stopped getting them. So he got them, to my knowledge, within like 24 hours. So, but we really have to have all the specifics if you're willing to send that to the med team.
Yes, I can do that. And I can get you names and numbers of quite a few people. I guess my question about the medication thing is, where they were on them in Draper before they got moved, do they have to put in a request to be on them again? They should have never stopped getting their medications.
Did you hear that so there've been a couple of Zoom meetings with corrections for families and a press release, and it's been on the news, but when they migrated after moving to the prison to the new electronic medical record system, it crashed and they lost everybody's history. So they've been rebuilding that with the help of a lot of people from other divisions of the state. But I find it really challenging to wrap my head around how somebody can go 6 weeks without a medication. Like, by now they should all have been rebuilt, I think. And I haven't gotten a solid confirmation on that. But if it got completely lost, or if this would be an exception, but if the prescription was lost, the record, and the prescription ran out during that time, it sounds like their team was reevaluating prescriptions. So we have been recommending, and UDC told us to recommend everyone put in ICRs for their prescriptions. And again, this doesn't make sense to me either, because in the old days, 8 years ago, when somebody had a blister pack and halfway down, there was a blue line that said, you need to tell them that you're going to need to reorder. And by the end, it would say something like refill now or something. And apparently the med techs, the new system doesn't work that way. I don't know how it works, because I'm hoping that we can get some sort of a meeting with corrections that they'll explain these details to us at some point. But I'm still recommending everybody put in an ICR. And if they're organized enough, keep track. I put in one on, August 26th, another one on August 30th, another one on September 5th, and another one on September 10th, and I still don't have them. That way I or whoever is going to the top can put that information down. James Smith, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on these dates, put in ICRs for his Celexa or whatever, and he still hasn't received it.
Tell
Yeah.
me the email address again, please.
It's MED, so med as in medical, team, TEAM,
Uh-huh.
at utahprisoneradvocate.org.
So you have to spell all that out?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Advocate.org, right?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I will forward you some information.
It would be, Madeline, when they're writing down the dates they turn in the ICRs, it would be even better if they got the med tech's name. I mean, the more information, the better.
true.
Yeah, the med techs oftentimes I'm hearing don't do their jobs. Like they'll say, oh yeah, I'll go get that medicine for you right now and bring it back, and they never do.
Right. Yeah.
It's
That's why it helps to get all that information, the med tech's names and what happened with their interactions and different things like that. So
yeah, I
So
tell them
that
all to keep a
have
log book.
details to
I
go
just
with.
like log everything. Yeah, I do that.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, enough of this for me. I want to hear what everybody else has got to questions. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome. There's another question from Pam, if it's Moto G Power. She says, when an inmate gets blood work done, who contacts inmates for their results? This is a really good question. We've been told, oh my gosh, Wendy, I think, and I went the rounds sort of about this once back with Tony Washington, because you would think that when the results come back, the providers are saying, okay, we're going to send this off and we're going to get the results and we'll talk to you. You would think that there would be a mechanism to make a new appointment for them, but the audit found that wasn't happening and that the patient had to put in a request to be seen for the results of their test. Now, we still argue that, in the community, we get results of our tests and they call us and say, you either need to make an appointment or you need to do XYZ or whatever. But where my nephew is right now in a different prison system, he's having to put in healthcare requests to get results of those blood tests. I did see somewhere that they told somebody blood test results were going to take 21 days. And I did question that, but when I question generalities like that, I don't often get answers from corrections. If I had the name of the person and all of that, maybe I could get an answer. But I don't know what blood tests, maybe the nurses on here do, but take 21 days to get a result. But
None of them.
that's what I think, but I'm a therapist, not a nurse or anyway.
Molly,
Yeah.
there are very few blood tests that take that long. Even MRIs or CT scans. But what I would also suggest is that the family member call that family line and ask Amy over and over and over, have you gotten those results in? Can you check? Because even when my son I had the MRI results because I had a medical release.
Right.
It still was 3 weeks before it got back to the provider and they did anything.
Right.
So I think you just have to keep calling and the inmate does have to put that follow-up visit in.
Yeah.
Would Amy be able to give that information out unless you had that medical power of attorney completed with your name on it? she wouldn't be able to answer those questions unless that was done, correct?
She couldn't say what the results are, but she could say if it's back, couldn't she, Jenny?
She read the results to me, and I even had the paper in front of me, but she doesn't know what those results mean. Does that make sense? She can't interpret them. So she can read them off. She can see them. And then I was like, you need to forward this to the provider. They need to look at this now. And it was still 2 weeks before they pulled Tyler for his surgery. So, and she did. I really feel like every time she sent the message. So I don't know where the breakdown is in how the provider reads that message. Does that make sense?
Yes, but to clarify, Lana, if there's not the power of attorney, if there's not the authorization, then Amy can't, like if I call on your loved one, she can't tell me anything.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. So, okay, Martin, it looks like your hand's up.
Oh, hey, everybody. No, I was just wondering, so with all the medical issues that are going on, is everyone, as you have been saying, instructing their loved ones to put in all of the necessary forms? The medical department has to have a record of the medications being asked for. They have to have a record of not only asking for the medication, sometimes you have to request to see the healthcare provider again. So
Correct.
that's also a secondary method to get back on your meds. So I just wanted to throw that out there if anybody didn't know.
Yeah, thank you. And we've been posting it on the Facebook page, but there could be people on here that are not on our Facebook page. And it also was included, I believe, in either the July or no, it was included in the August UPAN newsletter. So thank you, Martin. We have to, as patients, they have to advocate for themselves, but they need us out here to advocate with them to get through this nightmare.
Hey, Martin, with my loved one, I had to step in because she was going without her psycho meds for like over a week. And I wrote this drastic letter saying, oh, she's seeing spots and she's sweating and she can't function, and just make it very dire. And then and then she said she did the
ICR.
Yeah, she did those numerous times. And then because they're so understaffed, the people get frustrated. But I said, just keep at it, keep at it. She finally got her medication after 5 days and a stool softener.
No, you're absolutely right. And like Molly said, they need advocates out here.
She had this operation like 3 years ago, and that's when she's supposed to get the stool softener. So there's still a lot of confusion and a lot of work that's still in the making. And I work for Salt Lake School District. Our computers always crash. So it's not unusual.
Can I go back, Catherine? I tried to just answer you in the chat, and for whatever reason, I don't think it went through, but Catherine is pulling back to Gail has had a breakout in Gunnison. And so I just would like, and somebody's been coughing up blood. Now I've lost it, so I can't find it. But well, maybe I can get it back up here again. Okay. Anyway, I've asked Catherine to email us about the specifics, but for anybody who's got COVID and they're having exacerbated symptoms, they really need to be seen by medical. And anybody who's tested positive for COVID, we have been told that the prison has the medications for COVID to administer to people that would be at risk if it got, they would get complicated COVID. So, oh my goodness. And I know there are other viruses going around right now that are not COVID, but I haven't actually, it just dawned on me, I haven't gotten a response for people that have asked. Somebody asked, people were asking to be tested and they hadn't been tested. I don't know if they ever got tested, because if they did get tested and we don't hear back from the family, then we don't know if they got tested or not. But also encourage your loved ones to ask for COVID tests if they think that they have COVID and they would be at risk for complications, or if they're starting to have serious symptoms like coughing up blood or those serious, all those serious symptoms, dehydration from diarrhea, that kind of thing.
Nancy, I think I saw your hand raised. Did you still have a question? I enabled your ability to talk. If you're trying to talk, you're on mute. Maybe not. And I see Madeline, is your hand back up, or is this from the last time?
No, it's back up. I do have a comment on the COVID thing. I was told from both prisons that they were told that they weren't going to do COVID testing anymore.
Whoa. That's scary, because some people in both population as well as in the geriatric unit are vulnerable if they were to, I mean, there are people with lung issues out in population.
Yeah, my son is in Gunnison, and he said his section, every single one of them got sick. They thought it was COVID, but they wouldn't give him any tests. And when you said somebody was throwing up blood, I heard that also, that they were so sick, and the whole section. And because my son had it, everybody had it, and he's the liaison to the lieutenant for his group or his section. And he said, Mom, he told me twice not to come visit, because he said, this is so bad. We don't know what it is. They won't help us. And I don't want you to get sick. And he said, even if I feel better, it's still in my section, and other people won't be so nice as to, tell their family to stay home. They'll go out and visit sick. And I don't want you to be there and be exposed to it.
Wow. I mean, I appreciate your son's consideration, but for you, but that's very disturbing. Yeah, if both of you, Catherine and Madeline, will email us with the specifics, it might be the same section, or it could be completely different sections, but we need to get on this, because I know there are new boosters coming out, and I did not talk to Caitlin about it today, but they had stopped offering shots, COVID shots, to incarcerated people, and they had to put in ICRs for boosters. So that's something else we need to probably be looking at now that the flu and cold season is coming on.
Molly, I put a couple of comments in the chat there, if you're able to read those.
Okay, so to Nancy, if you would please email us at medteam@utahprisoneradvocate.org with all the pertinent information. The stuff you've written in here with his name and his offender number and any ICRs that he's put in, just all the information you can give us, and we can take that. I will take that up to the director. And then Sheila. Okay, Sheila, you're saying the same thing.
Nancy, that power of attorney you're talking about that your dad signed 2 days ago, was it just a power of attorney or was it his medical power of attorney? Because if well, he probably needs to do the medical power of attorney if it wasn't. And then
Yeah.
that needs to go to his, oh my gosh, it's late on Monday. It's been a long weekend. That needs to go to his case manager to be notarized. If that's not where it's gone already.
Yeah, and then that needs to go to medical to records. And then they
Yeah,
can-
his case manager should get it to medical and then we'll get a copy of that back to him.
Nancy, you should be able to speak. If I saw you were on, and then I saw your comment in the Facebook on our Facebook page. Are you back on? She might be having trouble.
Nancy, you can unmute if you go to the little microphone in the bottom left of your screen and click it to where the line isn't through the microphone anymore.
She says she's having a storm where they're at, so she might not.
Oh, okay. So
I'll reply to her in the.
can you just give her the email that she can send to, and then we'll be, on these. I think we're going to be really busy for the rest of the week with more medical stuff, but yeah, and that's frustrating because 89-year-old person in the geriatric unit, which is like